Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna.
previous time we were speaking about mainly two things. The first one was that the best way to get knowledge is through Shabda Pramana or spiritual sound. And the best of all scriptures, the emperor of all scriptures is Srimad Bhagavatam. So basically, Srimad Bhagavatam is establishing the ultimate reality, the absolute truth.
Yeah.
And what is this absolute truth? That was the second thing we spoke, that from all manifestations of God, the highest manifestation is Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we were quoting very important verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, so that on the basis of Srimad Bhagavatam, we establish how Krishna, from all different manifestations and incarnations of God, is the highest one. And we were giving examples how in different pastimes we can see how Krishna is superior than Indra, he is superior than Brahma, he is also superior than Shiva, and Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
And he is superior even than Vishnu. Of course, Pandava Prabhu explained how actually there is no difference between Krishna and Vishnu. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a different mood. But still, we have examples that even Vishnu was eager to see the Supreme form of the Personality of Godhead as Krishna. We were giving a technical explanation how Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we were giving a technical explanation how actually Krishna has all qualities in full, and no one else has this. And even if you check these different qualities in a systematic way, we'll see that even Vishnu does not have all of these qualities. In other words, Krishna has 4 very special, specific qualities, which are only his. And these were Venu Madhurya. He's singing, he's playing in a very sweet way on his flute. Lila Madhurya, he is showing amazingly beautiful pastimes. Bhakta Madhurya, his devotees are very, very, very sweet, and he has amazing deep relationships with them. And Rupa Madhurya, the form of Krishna is extremely beautiful, the most beautiful form. So we established these things, and then on the basis of this, we started a new discussion, and this new discussion was that the greatest pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually to exchange loving dealings with his devotees. That's why we have a statement of Bhagavatam. Krishna is devotee of his devotees. And now we will continue onwards. Previous time we were giving example from Bhagavad Gita how although Krishna is the Supreme Lord and Arjuna is his devotee, the moment when Arjuna said, "My dear Lord, please drove my chariot between the two armies," and Krishna immediately fulfilled his order, fulfilled his desire. So Srila Prabhupada was explaining that although Krishna is the Supreme Lord, actually he gets greater pleasure when he is in the role of fulfilling the desires of his devotees than to give orders to his devotees. And then we quoted a second story, how Krishna was with the cowboys in the forests, and their cows went lost somewhere in a distance in the forest. And then Krishna said, "I will personally go and bring your cows back." So Krishna expresses his desire to do something for his devotees.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we will continue. So Krishna takes care of everyone according to their surrender. So we have a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, very famous verse. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasava Britya Yare Yaiche Nacheya Sataiche Kare Nritya. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them to do so. And still, although he is the master of everyone, he is fulfilling the needs and the desires of everyone since times immemorial. We have another verse from the Upanishads, Katha Upanishad 2:13, and in this verse it is stated, the Supreme Lord is eternal, and the living beings are also eternal. The Supreme Lord is cognizant, and the living beings are also cognizant. The difference is that the Supreme Lord is supplying all the necessities of life for the many other living entities. So that means that Krishna already takes care and serves all living entities by fulfilling their desires, by giving them what they need. However, for most of them, he is doing this through his energies and expansions. So that means not directly. As Paramatma, Krishna sanctions, gives permission, and his external energy supplies the living entities with their needs according to their karma. However, for his devotees, Krishna sometimes makes personal arrangements. And for his pure devotees, he always looks for opportunities to serve them. So we could say that here we are describing three levels of devotees, in the sense that everyone is devotee of Krishna. Even these living entities that they don't want to serve Krishna, still they are devotees of Krishna. But they've forgotten about this. They have forgotten about their position of being servants of Krishna. So Krishna is fulfilling even their desire, but he's not doing it directly. He's doing it through his energy. And for some devotees, sometimes he appeared in front of them. We will hear why. Why, although they are not pure devotees, Krishna appears in front of them. And then, for the third category, those who are completely pure in their hearts, Krishna is always looking for opportunity to do something for them, to render some service. And now we will discuss more about these three categories. So in Bhagavad Gita, in 7th chapter, there is a verse 16, which says, "Oh, best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute." So Krishna fulfills the desires of those personalities because they are approaching him for help. But he does that through his external energy, through Maya Shakti. So these people, they approach Krishna with some aspiration. They want something. They want Krishna to do something for them, to fulfill some desire. And this aspiration that they have actually prevents them from rendering devotional service with such an intensity and sincerity that would oblige the Lord to personally appear in front of them. Rather, he just fulfills their material desires. So this is the first category. Those personalities who are pious enough when they are in difficult situation, or when they want money, or they want something else, they will approach the Lord. They have this initial faith that actually, if I approach the Lord, he'll help me. And Krishna is fulfilling their desires, but he's doing it through his material energy. Now, the second category. By the way, dear devotees, if you have questions, please ask. So the second category. Sometimes the Lord may appear personally in front of these devotees. So they are not pure devotees, but still the Lord appears in front of them. Why? Because they have attained the mercy of a pure devotee. Krishna very rarely bestows his mercy in this world personally. Normally, he empowers his representatives, the preachers, and his mercy follows their mercy. If the preachers decide to bestow their mercy to someone, then Krishna is also favorable to that person. A devotee who takes the sweet burden of bringing Krishna to others, of explaining the knowledge of Krishna to others, of accepting the role of a spiritual master, and helping other devotees to grow spiritually, he is very dear to Krishna. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, verses 68 and 69. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he'll come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be someone more dear. So we can give an example about such a person who was not pure devotee, and still he got the personal.
It's New York.
Yes.
Huh?
Sorry?
We'll
That's
be
my
meeting
mom.
in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mom in the
She's joining us.
Wait, mommy, are you
Yeah,
joining
no.
us?
No, I didn't know.
No, it's not joining. She's just
Okay, Daddy, because we
yeah,
can hear.
let me just step aside, okay? Yeah.
Sorry about
No problem. That's
Yeah,
their
go ahead.
that's their pastime.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
So we will quote the story about Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj is an example of a devotee who attained the
Yeah.
personal darshan of the Lord because having received the mercy of his pure devotee. Who was this pure devotee? Do you know? Okay, now you learn.
Daddy, do you know?
Let me see. No, just go ahead. You know, when it comes to my head, I will.
I'll let you know.
Will come.
So, although his motivation in devotional service was mixed with material desire,
Yeah.
his aspiration in devotional service was instigated by the desire to attain riches and a kingdom like those of Brahma. However, by the mercy of Narada Muni, Krishna personally appeared to him. So Narada Muni, being a pure devotee, gave him this blessing that Krishna will appear in front of him. Not only did he fulfill his desire, but he assured him that he will soon be promoted to the spiritual world. So the story goes that Dhruva Maharaj, he was very much offended from his stepmother, and he decided to go in the forest and to perform very unique, very, very difficult penances and austerities to invoke the mercy of the Lord. And he was successful, actually. He attracted the mercy of the Lord. Of course, we are saying that he attracted the mercy of the Lord because he had the blessings of Narada Muni, who is a pure devotee. And then when the Lord appeared in front of him, actually, he understood that, wait a minute, why I'm offering this prayer just for some small, petty material things. Rather, I can achieve the greatest thing, love of God, and I am asking for riches, for kingdom. So he said to the Lord, since I was so foolish to desire worldly riches, now you will give me only wealth, but not prema bhakti. But the Lord replied, no, I will give you both wealth and prema.
Okay.
This Krishna shows that he knows how to reciprocate in a perfect manner with all his devotees, including those who approach him with material desires.
So in other words, we shouldn't be hesitant to approach the Lord, even if we have material desires. He knows how to handle our material contamination. He won't be neither judgmental, nor he'll punish us. He will act in such a way that he will purify our material attachments,
Yeah.
and he will attract us to pure devotional service.
Okay.
This is very practical for us because most of us, we are not on the level not to have any material desires, but this shows little later we will speak about this, that actually if we get the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord, by his mercy we can get the ultimate mercy of the Lord. We can get love of Krishna. We can go back to the spiritual world, but this we'll discuss little later. So now we discuss the first two categories: people who are not devotees and still God is fulfilling their desires, and those who are devotees but they are not pure devotees, and how Krishna reciprocates with them. And now, how Krishna is reciprocating with his pure devotees. Prahlad Maharaj is example for such a pure devotee. He was serving Krishna with pure devotion without asking anything in return. Therefore, the Lord came personally to reciprocate with his love. Being attracted by Prahlad's pure devotion, he came personally and accepted a special form that was never seen before, Nara Hari Rupa, half man, half lion, to protect his devotee. Prompted by Lord Nrsimhadev to choose a boon, Prahlad Maharaj replied. So maybe before reading the answer of Prahlad Maharaj, I can say just shortly the story. We know how Prahlad appeared as a son of the greatest demon in the universe, Hiranyakashipu. And his father did not like the idea that his son is actually a pure devotee.
Yeah.
And at some point, the things escalated so much that actually his father wanted to kill him. He decided that, okay, better no son than a son who is a pure devotee. And of course, Krishna, being attracted by the pure devotion of his devotee, he could not leave the things simply like that. So the Lord made a special arrangement and he appeared in a very, very special form that was never seen before. Why? Just to protect his devotee. So this shows the amazing love of Krishna to Prahlad. And then one can ask, well, why so special? I mean, okay, he's devotee, so what? Why Krishna is making such a special arrangement? Well, now when we hear the answer of Prahlad, when Lord Nrsimhadev asked him to get whatever boon, we will understand why. Because like we can think about ourselves, let's say if we are in a situation that Lord is in front of us and he says, oh, you can choose whatever you like from Bentley to 10-bedroom home to special holiday in Bali, whatever you want. I'm here to fulfill your desire. Well, maybe at least for a short time, we'll really think about, where was the problem? Just let me ask for some blessing. At the end of the day, Krishna is asking me, so what's the problem? But still, let's see what is the answer of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj replied, a servant who desires material profit from his master is certainly not a qualified servant or pure devotee. Similarly, a master who bestows blessings upon his servant because of a desire to maintain a prestigious position as master is also not a pure master. Oh my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant, and you are my eternal master. There is no need of our being anything other than master and servant. You are naturally my master, and I am naturally your servant. We have no other relationship. So in other words, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, well, I'm doing something for you. Now, if I ask for something in return, this is not devotion anymore. This will be business. I'm doing something for you, and you're paying me by giving me a blessing. What kind of devotion will be this? So we see actually how pure and exalted was the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. And that's why, with this purity, he attracted the mercy of the Lord. So everything in this world is subordinate to Krishna because he is the supreme controller and enjoyer. However, there is one thing that controls him, and this is the pure love of his devotees. And now we will go little in that depth in another very interesting story from Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the story of Ambarisha Maharaj. He was also completely surrendered devotee to the Lord. I'll give now the word to Pandava, and he can tell us shortly the story and some amazing conclusions and how in this story the amazing level of devotion of Ambarisha Maharaj appears. Hare Krishna.
So the story
Can I ask you a question before before you start?
Please.
The nature of the universe, the way it is, God, Krishna, or God, and I will come later because I've seen a lot of Krishna, or we have seen a lot of Krishna in our dreams. Krishna has visited us so many times. I'll get to that. All right. Including, in the world, there seems to be a lot of division. This person is a Christian, this person is a Hindu, this person is a Muslim. And what Krishna said to me when I saw him, I'll get to that. But, let's get back to asking Krishna for favors. Now, I wonder why you don't call that pure devotion when you are acknowledging Krishna as the source of everything. Krishna says, I'm the source of everything. Nobody is above me. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the cause of all causes. So by asking him to give you a little thing, isn't that acknowledging the fact that Krishna is the owner of everything?
Thank you for the nice question. Yes, definitely it is. That's why you are asking, otherwise why you are asking from him. The fact that you are asking means you have some faith that he can give it to you. So yes, it shows that Krishna is the supreme controller. Just these are two different things. We may believe that Krishna is the supreme controller, but still we are asking something in return that shows that from our side, we are not completely selfless in our service, which is not bad, as Pandava said. The fact that someone is approaching the Lord is already something very great, something amazing. But there is a difference between this level of devotion and the level of devotion of a pure devotee. And now actually, through this seminar, this is exactly the idea, to see the different levels of devotion. And all these devotions are good. The devotion of someone who is on the street is good. The devotion of our devotion is good, although we are not still pure devotees. But the devotion of pure devotees of Krishna, we will see Krishna has a special way to reciprocate with them. Why? Because they are completely surrendered to Krishna. That's why he is also completely surrendered to them. And just by going through these stories, actually, we will see this point more and more exemplified. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, so the story of Ambarish Maharaj is described in 9th canto of Bhagavatam. So first, Ambarish Maharaj, he was very, very exalted devotee of the Lord. He was emperor of the whole planet, but he was not attached to his material opulence because he knew it's temporary. Still, he was engaging everything in service of the Lord. He was performing his duties properly. So he was so engrossed in devotional service that sometimes he would fast for a long time together with his family members. And once, after fasting on Ekadashi for 3 days, so that means following properly the day before Ekadashi and the day after Ekadashi. This is Dashami, Ekadashi, and Vadashi. Okay. Before he was about to break his fast, so he fed the brahmanas, he performed his puja, all the duties that he had to perform. And before he was about to break the fast, together with his family, then a great brahmana appeared on the scene as a uninvited guest. And this brahmana was Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni is very famous in the universe because he's very powerful, has lots of mystic powers, and he's something like incarnation of Shiva. And his favorite pastime is that he gets really angry very, very often. He can be easily satisfied, just like Shiva, but if you displease him, he can curse, and people are afraid. So when he is around, everybody is very careful. So Durvasa Muni appeared, and Maharaja Ambarisha, of course, he followed the proper etiquette. He welcomed him, and he requested him, dear Brahmana, please go and take your bath and then come back here and then have your prasadam. And then while Durvasa Muni was performing his religious duties at noon, chanting Gayatri, etc., the time for breaking the fast after Ekadashi came. So the king, Maharaja Ambarisha, he was in a dilemma. First, he wanted to break the fast in the proper time. Otherwise, he doesn't properly follow the Ekadashi Vrata. But on the other hand, he had to respect his guest because it is not proper for the host to eat before the guest. First, the guest should eat, and then host, he can take food with the permission of the guest. So then he asked his brahmanas, his advisors, what to do. But the brahmanas, they had different opinions, so they couldn't give one answer, unequivocal answer to the question of the king. So then the king, because he was a great devotee, he came up with the solution by the mercy of the Lord. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that this shows how devotees are more intelligent than the greatest of the brahmanas, greatest of the sages, because the pure devotees are in contact with the Lord in the heart. So then Maharaja Ambarisha said, then I will break the fast by drinking little water, because the Vedas say that drinking water breaks the fast and at the same time doesn't break the fast. So I will simultaneously follow the Ekadashi Vrata properly, and I will simultaneously not insult this great Brahmana because I have not eaten before him. So I'll just drink some water. And then the Brahmanas agreed. They authorized this decision of the king, and then he broke the fast. And a little later, the great Brahmana Durvasa Muni appeared. And by his mystic powers, he understood that the king has broken the fast. And this enraged him. He became furious. And he started complaining about the king. He said, just see this uncultured person. He pretends to be emperor, great devotee, but he doesn't follow dharma. He broke the etiquette by eating before the guest. He's not a devotee, actually. Actually, he's not a devotee. He pretends to be a devotee of the Lord. So I want to make short note here. This is a recurring theme in Bhagavatam. When somebody, a great personality, great sage, great Prajapati, he hurls this insult or this accusation. You're not a real devotee. I can recall at least 3 cases like this. Daksha told this to Narada Muni when Narada Muni made sons of Daksha sannyasis, and Daksha was mortified because he wanted them to get married and to have progeny. Daksha told him, you are dressed as a devotee, as a saintly person, but actually you are not. I'm actually more devotee than you are, although I'm a grihasta, and you are so-called renunciate. So this one case. Also, the 4 Kumaras, when they became angry at the Jaya Vijaya, when Jaya Vijaya didn't let them in Vaikuntha, then the 4 Kumaras also said the same thing. They said, you are pretending to be a devotees, but you're not real devotees, actually. And because you're not real devotees, you should go down to material world. This is the place where the non-devotees are. Here in Vaikuntha, only devotees are allowed to stay. So you're not qualified. And then here we see the same case. Durvasa Muni, he says, he thinks, he accuses the king that he's not true devotee. So my point is that, and in all 3 cases, actually the accusers were all wrong. Actually, in all these cases, happened by the arrangement of the Lord that the persons that were accused of not being non-devotees, they were actually not only devotees, but they were actually much greater devotees than the accuser himself. Or himself. And the Lord actually sided with them. The Lord actually took the side of Jaya Vijaya, although he kept the curse of the 4 Kumaras because this was his plan, his arrangement, his pastime. Then the Lord took the side of Ambarish Maharaj, the Lord took the side of Narada Muni. Okay, so my point is that sometimes we may also think like this. We may think, oh, look at this so-called devotee. Look what kind of nonsense he's doing. He's not actually a devotee. We should be careful because it may happen that if these great personalities made this mistake, Durvasa Muni, the 4 Kumaras, Daksha, these are extremely exalted people. They made it into Bhagavatam. We haven't. So they're greater than us. So if they're prone to make this mistake, it's possible that we are also making this mistake right now, so we should be careful. Okay, so then Durvasa became so angry that he created a very fearful demon. Because of his mystic powers, he was able to do that. And then this demon, he just approached Maharaja Ambarisha, and was obviously that Maharaja Ambarisha was in great danger. Then what happened? The king didn't move at all. He was not scared. He didn't exclaim, "Oh, Jesus! Oh, Krishna!" Nothing. Well, he was thinking about Krishna, of course, all the time. He didn't turn back and run for his dear life. The king was just completely calm in meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, depending completely on Krishna. But then what happened? And this was fearful demon, huge demon. That the description in Bhagavatam you can read. It's very fearful, and he was particularly created to attack the king by the wrath of the Brahmana. So then what happened was that the personal weapon of Krishna appeared on the scene, Sudarshan Chakra, and very quickly Sudarshan Chakra killed this demon, just destroyed the demon. The demon wasn't there anymore, just disappeared. And then not only that, but because when you attack a devotee of the Lord, the weapon or the anger or the negative whatever emotions that you emanated towards this great devotee will turn back to you. Then Sudarshan Chakra actually started chasing Durvasa Muni, and the great sage who thought that he's in control of the situation, he had to run around the whole universe for a whole year to escape the wrath of Sudarshan. Sudarshan was chasing him and keeping close enough to create heat, and it was very frightening experience, but he was not killing him. So Durvasa Muni went to different places, tried to hide in caves. Didn't work. He took shelter in Lord Brahma first. Lord Brahma told him, "I cannot help you. This is the personal weapon of the Lord." And by the way, this weapon also creates disturbance for all of us here in Satyaloka. So please proceed, move forward. And then Durvasa Muni had to take shelter personally in his own deity because he was Shiva worshipper. So he went to Lord Shiva and he took shelter there. And the Lord Shiva told him, "I cannot help you. I'm not independent. I'm dependent on the Lord Vishnu. So please go to the Lord, submit yourself, and he's very merciful. He will forgive you." And then Durvasa was mortified because he went to his own deity, Shiva, and he didn't find solace there. And now he had to go to pray for mercy to the deity, to the Lord worshipped by Maharaja Ambarisha, by this king. I'm a Brahmana, and this is just some Kshatriya, and I have to now humiliate myself, go to worship his Lord. That's what he thought. But then he didn't have any choice. He was so great yogi that he went to Vaikuntha, and then he approached the Lord. And then the Lord also told him the same thing. The Lord said, "You came here because you think I'm independent. You thought, okay, Brahma and Shiva, they're not independent. They depend on Krishna, on me. So if I approach the Lord, I will be saved. But the truth is that I'm also not independent. I also depend on my devotees." And then I will read a little bit the dialogue between them shortly, because it's very interesting. It is these are different elucidations, elaborations given by the acharyas. So Durvasa Muni said, okay, first the Lord said, Just as Brahma and Shiva cannot save you because they are dependent on me, so I also am dependent and cannot save you. Then Durvasa says, you become dependent on your devotees by your nature, but this is not desired by the devotees. So actually you're independent. Durvasa is pushing the point that no, you are independent. You
You can do whatever you like.
You can do the job, okay? Don't pretend that you're dependent. You actually the Lord, I know. Then the Lord says, that is true. I'm independent, but by my will, I become dependent on my devotees because I cannot give up my various sentiments towards them. So the Lord is independent, but he becomes voluntarily dependent on his devotees because he loves them. Then Durvasa says, but seeing my suffering, you do not become compassionate. Then Krishna replies, that is true. I do not have such equality in my mind. My heart is controlled by the best devotees without desire even for liberation. Seeing that liberation which I want to give them is not attractive to them, to my devotees, I forcefully give my own heart to them, accepting that they make that one with their own hearts and fix it there with devotion. So what happens, Krishna explains, I give my heart, I give myself to the devotees, and they take my heart and they mix it somehow with their own heart, so it becomes one thing. So therefore, my mercy exists in their mercy. The Lord's mercy follows the mercy of the devotees. So therefore, what Tulsi Prabhu said previously is exactly right. Therefore, when the preachers preach the glories of the Lord, the mercy of the Lord goes with wherever the preacher decides. Whatever the Madhyama devotee decides to direct the mercy, then the mercy of the Lord follows. And the Lord doesn't interfere with independent choice of the preacher, of the Madhyama devotee. It is his choice or her choice. The Lord follows. So then Krishna continues, this is well known to all people, and it's known to you. Persons protected by the devotees are dear to me. What to speak of the devotees themselves? Oh, ignorant Brahmana. This is interesting. Brahmana is never ignorant, but Krishna says that Durvasa is ignorant Brahmana. Oh, ignorant Brahmana, do you not consider this? And then Durvasa says, how much are the devotees objects of your affection? And then the Lord says something very interesting. He says, I'm Atmarama because I enjoy. I don't need to go outside of myself for my enjoyment, because my nature is that I'm completely satisfied by myself. We're not. We're dependent on the Lord for our satisfaction, but He's independent. Still, Krishna says, but I do not desire that enjoyment without my devotees. This is the interesting thing. Krishna is independent enjoyer, but he doesn't desire this enjoyment without the company of his devotees. So he has this bliss coming from his own swarup or from his own opulences. We know the 6 opulences of the Lord. But Krishna says, I eternally possess my 6 great qualities, but without the devotees, I consider these to be barren. So they're useless, basically, without the devotees. Therefore, Krishna says, without my devotees, I do not wish to enjoy my opulence. It is just like you have some very dear friend or relative, and let's say Tulsi Prabhu gave the example of going to a vacation. And let's say you get some free vacation, wherever you want to go.
And you go there, but you go alone.
7-star hotel, or for 1 month, you can do whatever you want. And then, but imagine you have somebody so dear to you that going without this person, or even better, without these personalities, you don't want to go to this vacation. So this is some crude example. Mm-hmm. So Krishna is like this. And then Durvasa Muni says, you are very affectionate to the Brahmanas. Therefore, please do not ignore me, a Brahmana. Now he's going to play this card. Okay.
Mhm.
Krishna is Namo Brahmanya Hitaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. He's very, very attached to the Brahmanas. I am a Brahmana. I'm one of the great, he's a large caliber Brahmana in the universe. There are not many Brahmanas more famous and powerful than Durvasa Muni in this universe. Not many. And then the Lord says, that is true. But how can I ignore the devotees? I'll have to give them up automatically if I protect you, who offended the devotee. For me, Krishna says, the devotees have given up attachment to wife and children. Objects of affection, difficult to give up. Just like Maharaja Ambarisha, he was not attached to opulence or to family, he was attached to the Lord. So what have you, a Brahmana, given up? Please tell me. You cannot say that Ambarisha did not give up anything. Because when you engaged the demon to kill him, he did not move a step. Since he did not consider his body important. But you, who prayed to Brahma and Shiva for protection, run all over the universe to protect your body, though you are an Atmarama with complete detachment. I know the true value of him and you. What else should I tell you? Such a fool. This is Krishna's mercy to Durvasa Muni. So he basically tells him, the king is much greater than you, because he was not afraid. But you were, and you run all over the universe to protect your body. And then Krishna says, though I want to give you the suitable results for causing pain to my devotee, I do not do so. Understand that this is because I'm affectionate to Brahmanas. The devotees are my heart. You, who wanted to afflict my Ambarisha, have afflicted my heart. Durvasa Muni says, if I have offended you, then I fall at your feet for forgiveness. And then Krishna says, I'm the devotee's heart. When the devotee's heart is pleased, I'm pleased. So go to Ambarisha and please him. This is the only remedy. And then Durvasa Muni, he still doesn't understand what's going on. Of course, he's a great personality and he plays this role here. Krishna chooses great people, great personalities to play this role so that we can learn something. And then Durvasa Muni, exactly like Arjuna, didn't seem to understand. And then Durvasa Muni, he says, okay, but the king, invited me and then did not feed me. And instead, he ate. He's still fixed on this particular incident. He still wants to establish who is right and who is wrong. Do you not see his fault, my dear Lord? I'm right and he is wrong. And then the Lord says, they do not know, my devotees, they do not know anything except me. Ambarisha does what I desire him to do. So the Lord completely backs up his devotee. The Lord is not, he doesn't waver. He's not wavering in his support of his devotees. This is the greatest, you can say, probably the greatest Brahmana in the universe, and he gives arguments why the Lord should have protected him, the greatest Brahmana, and not this king. He's just a Kshatriya. And the Lord doesn't become mental. maybe he's right. Maybe I should have protected. He doesn't play games. The Lord is 100% on the side. On the side of his devotee.
100% both.
Yeah.
By the amazing selfless love of his devotee.
Well, therefore he is protecting the devotee, because the devotee bound the Lord with the ropes of love and affection. And obviously, Durvasa didn't. So then Durvasa Muni says, well, therefore I ask you, please reply. Between a Brahmana and a Dvadashi, following the Ekadashi Vrata on Dvadashi properly, between a Brahmana and a Dvadashi, which is more respectable as Dharma? And so Durvasa still pushes this point. What is right, what is wrong?
So basically, he's saying, okay, which one was more important? Like the king to respect me, even if he breaks his vow, that to follow properly Ekadashi, or to follow Ekadashi is more important than to take care of me. You tell me which one is more important.
Then Krishna says, please go and ask Ambarisha. He will teach you, since you are ignorant of the conclusions of the scriptures of Dharma. But do not have any shame about this, my dear Brahmana, because I myself, I also have no knowledge. I do not know anything more than my devotees do. Since the Shruti says that drinking water is both eating and not eating, Ambarisha has equally respected the Brahmana and the Dvadashi. So this is also a very important thing. Actually,
She did
there
not
is,
disrespect.
yes, this is a win-win solution. It is so because the material approach is somebody must have been offended. I should win and you should lose. But the spiritual solution is always win-win. Actually, the king respected equally the Brahmanas and the Dvadashi. But you have to have spiritual vision to see that. If you have material vision, you'll consider yourself a victim. This is very extremely fashionable nowadays, to present yourself as a victim. I'm victim of the government, of the educational system, of this person, of that person. I'm a victim. This is very, very popular nowadays, but it's not spiritual. It's completely material. So Krishna says, but you are ignorant, my dear Brahmana. You do not know that. And Durvasa had not asked Ambarisha about this, since he should be made to understand the superiority of the Dvadashi over all Dharma because of its bhakti, by seeing results of his actions. So this is the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Durvasa Muni says, how is it possible that a Kshatriya king like Ambarisha is capable of delivering me, endowed with austerity and knowledge? And then the Lord says, austerity and knowledge cannot exist in you, since you are not qualified. Rather, they become the opposite. Knowledge and austerity in a person of bad conduct produce opposite results. And then Srila Prabhupada writes in the commentary, the lesson to be derived from this narration concerning Maharaja Ambarisha and Durvasa Muni is that all the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are under the control of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, when a Vaishnava is offended, the offender is punished by Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. No one can protect such a person, even Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva. Okay, so to conclude the whole thing, the Lord is ready to defend his devotees always, under all circumstances. Therefore, we should try to become sincere and pure devotees of the Lord. And we should be very careful in our dealings with the devotees, because we may underestimate easily a devotee and think that he is an ordinary person. We may think, well, he's not actually a devotee. I can push him around. I can yell at him. I can offend him. And may turn out that he's not only a devotee, but much greater devotee than we are. And another important conclusion is that the love and affection of the devotees towards Krishna brings Krishna under their control. And as Tulsi Prabhu says, he quoted Bhagavatam, and this is the topic of this seminar. Therefore, Krishna becomes devotee of his devotees, because devotees are completely selfless in their approach, and they render service out of love and affection only. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Any questions?
Yeah. Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a question here. Live.
Okay.
One of the figures is that Krishna makes himself with the heart of the living entity, not particularly maybe with the heart of devotee or sorry for the maybe some scientific character of that question, but what does it mean that Krishna meets himself with the heart of the devotee?
Yeah, okay, let me read again the purport. Okay, Krishna says, my heart is controlled by the best devotees without desire even for liberation. Seeing that liberation, which I want to give them, is not attractive to them, so they don't want liberation. This is the greatest boon, but they don't want. So then I forcefully give my own heart to them. So I understand this as Krishna is giving his own Svarupa, his own identity, I mean, his own self. He gives himself to them. Just like Mahaprabhu said, Mukunda has purchased me with his love. He can take me to the marketplace and he can sell me for any price. I'm his property. That's what Mahaprabhu says. So Krishna also, he says, Vasudeva, sorry. But I'm sure about Mukunda, Mahaprabhu would say the same. So Krishna becomes property of the devotee. Just like the gopis, they start clapping their hands and they say Krishna dance, and Krishna starts dancing. And accepting that, my heart, Krishna says, they, my devotees, make that one with their own hearts and fix it there with devotion. So somehow there is a union between the Lord and the devotee, not in a sense that the devotee becomes the Lord, but union of just like in
hearts.
Yeah, just like when you have a couple, when people get married. So they were like this man and this woman, and they keep their individuality, but after they are married, then they become something also united, right? Therefore, we have the couple. They are couple now. Although they're individuals, but they are together also. So something like this. That's what I understand.
Can you speak about that understanding that, like, technically the soul and body together are enough to stay alive, right? The soul is the potency for the body to live on this world, in this material world. Can we speculate about that maybe that understanding that there is Paramatma in the heart? That this is the
explanation.
Yeah. That Krishna makes himself in. It means that he possesses himself in our heart, and
that he reveals himself.
This is
Maybe you can.
that's the idea.
So the question is, can we understand this in the sense that Krishna, as the Paramatma, he reveals himself in the heart?
Yes, I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
I wanted to read one of the many amazing things that Krishna is saying to Durvasa. So a verse, it's a very famous verse. Many of those verses are very, very famous, but this one is exceptionally famous. Sadavo hridayam mahyam sadanam hridanam toham atanya te na jananti naham te vyomana kapi. Krishna is saying, the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I'm always in the heart of a pure devotee. My devotee do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. Basically, here we see how indebted and how devoted is Krishna to the treatment that he gets from his devotees. He is forced to receive. And as Pandava Prabhu said, he tries to offer different things to his devotees, but they don't want anything. So he's wondering, what shall I do? What shall I do? I have to give something. Okay, let me give myself. And Krishna is saying forcefully, I have to give them something. I have to reciprocate somehow to their love. And
So therefore, when
devotion.
Krishna gives something, we have to accept. We shouldn't
Yes.
be Mayavadis
Yes.
or impersonalists. Oh, no, I'm not touched. Thank you. Then how will Krishna have a relationship with us if we don't accept His mercy? Of course, not material things, but love and affection.
Love and affection. And then we'll look another example for such a great elevated devotee. Today, this is Sri Uddhava, the best devotee of the Lord outside of Vrindavan. Why outside of Vrindavan? We'll understand next time why. So another great devotee of the Lord is Sri Uddhava. His meditation on the Lord was so intense that he even looked like the Lord. The color of his body was blue, like Krishna's body. He was wearing the same clothes. He understood the mood of his master so well that Krishna always shared his confidential thoughts with him and took his advice on important state and personal affairs. Krishna trusted Uddhava so much that he sent him to Vrindavan to deliver his message of love to the Vrajabasis. In Dwaraka, no one could understand Krishna's mind so well as Uddhava. That's why Krishna personally said that there is no one else who is as dear to him as Uddhava. And this is a quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. My dear Uddhava, neither Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Sankarshan, the goddess of fortune, who is the wife of Krishna, nor indeed my own self are as dear to me as you are. Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 14, 15. And in the purport, we can read, the Lord has described in the previous verses the unalloyed love of his pure devotees for him. And now the Lord describes his love for his devotees. Atma Yoni means Lord Brahma, who is born directly from the Lord's body. And Lord Shiva always gives great pleasure to Lord Krishna by his constant meditation upon him. And Sankarshan, Balaram, he is the Lord's brother in Krishna Lila. And the goddess of fortune is the Lord's wife. And the word Atma also here indicates the Lord's own self as the deity. None of those personalities, even the Lord's own self, are as dear to him as his pure devotee Uddhava, a Kinchana devotee of the Lord. A Kinchana means without any material desires. Srila Madhvacharya cites from the Vedic literature the example that a gentleman sometimes neglects his own interest and that of his children to give charity to a poor beggar. Similarly, the Lord gives preference to a helpless devotee who depends completely on his mercy. The only way to obtain the Lord's mercy is through his causeless love. And the Lord is most lovingly inclined towards those devotees who are most dependent on him, just as ordinary mothers and fathers worry more about their helpless children than about those who are self-sufficient. Thus, even if one lacks any material qualification, one should simply depend upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without any other interest, and surely one will achieve the highest perfection of life. So Krishna is so merciful to devotees like Uddhava that he follows in their footsteps, just as if he was an ordinary person. Why? Because he established the rule that bhakti can be received only by association with bhaktas. And that's why Krishna also wants to follow this rule. We'll speak about this just in a minute, how this is actually the shortcut for us. This is our saving grace, to get the mercy of bhakta. This is the only way how we can actually achieve the mercy of the Lord. So let's see what is Krishna saying in this regard. With the dust of my devotees' lotus feet, I desire to purify the material worlds, which are situated within me. Thus, I always follow the footsteps of my pure devotees, who are free from all personal desire, wrapped in thoughts of my pastimes, peaceful, without any feelings of enmity, and of equal disposition everywhere. So in the purport, we can read this, by the way, Srimad Bhagavatam 11 Canto 14 chapter verse 16. Just as the devotees always follow the footsteps of Lord Krishna, similarly, Lord Krishna, being a devotee of his devotee, follows the footsteps of his devotees. A pure servitor of the Lord is always meditating on the pastimes of the Lord and considering how to assist the Lord in his mission. All the material universes are situated in Sri Krishna's body, as demonstrated to Arjuna, Mother Yashoda, and others. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore there is no question of impurity in the Lord. Still, so Krishna is completely pure. He doesn't have to do anything to become pure. But still, the Lord desires to purify the universes situated within him. So that means to purify himself by taking the dust of the lotus feet of his pure devotees. Without the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, it is not possible to engage in pure devotional service, without which one cannot directly experience transcendental bliss. Lord Krishna told, I have established this strict rule that one can enjoy my transcendental bliss only through devotional service obtained from the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees. Since I also desire to experience my own bliss, I will observe the standard procedure and accept the dust of my devotees' feet. Srila Madhvacharya points out that Lord Krishna follows the footsteps of his devotees in order to purify them. As the Lord walks along behind his pure devotees, the wind blows the dust of the Lord's feet in front of his devotees, who then become purified by contact with such transcendental dust. One should not foolishly look for material logic in these transcendental pastimes of the Lord. It is simply a question of love between the Lord and his devotees. So the Lord is completely pure, but he is saying, no, wait a minute, I have to become pure by the lotus feet of my devotees. But by walking behind his devotees, the wind actually is blowing the dust from his lotus feet to purify his devotees who are in front of him. So, wow, what's happening here? What's the logic? Well, it is simply a question of love between the Lord and his devotees. It's simply a loving exchange. So this is the level of these great pure devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, like Ambarish Maharaj, like Uddhava Maharaj. And just to finish for today, I want to discuss shortly another topic. One may say, well, wait a minute. So what is our chance there? Like, if this is the level, what is our chance? We don't have any chance. Like, how we are going to develop such a selfless and amazingly pure devotion so that Krishna is so attracted from us? He wants to come, he wants to reciprocate personally with us. How are we going to do that? It sounds like impossible task. Well, it is impossible task, but it is possible by the mercy of pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada. This is actually our only hope. As we read in the last quote, Krishna is saying, I established this very strict rule that if someone wants to get bhakti, he has to go and serve bhakta. So this is actually our chance. If we manage to get the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord, like Srila Prabhupada, then maybe Krishna will give us mercy.
Maybe.
Maybe because
A little bit.
how much we are going to be surrendered. If we completely surrender our life, then Krishna definitely will give us his mercy. Pandava is listening very carefully. Okay. Let's say something in regards to the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. He was always teaching that a true guru never says that he is God. Rather, he is a servant of God and can make others also servants of God. Srila Prabhupada never wanted to show himself off, to put himself in the center. Rather, he always put his guru's instruction and the desires of his guru in the center. His life was totally surrendered to the desire of his Guru Maharaj. In ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada reserved a special place to worship of Guru. Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish this thing. He established a daily Guru Puja in all our centers and temples. This is something that truly emphasizes the Guru-disciple relationship and the Guru's desire. In Gaudiya Math, for example, there is only one annual Guru worship, and that is on the Vyasa Puja day, Guru Purnima. But in ISKCON, we are reminded of the importance of the Guru's mercy in our spiritual advancement every day. In his purport to Bhagavad Gita 4.34, Srila Prabhupada writes, satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. So again and again in the books of Srila Prabhupada, we can read this, that this is very, very important, to surrender your life to bona fide spiritual master and to understand what is his desire and fulfill this desire. And this is the success of disciples' life. And we see perfect example in the life of Srila Prabhupada about this, because he totally surrendered his whole life to fulfilling the desires of his Guru Maharaj, to the extent that he started on a mission when he was 70 years old. Now we are in our 40s, maybe 50s, and if we get a serious task of our spiritual master, we'll think, I don't know how many times before I rush forward. Srila Prabhupada, 70 years old man, without much support, just for the pleasure of his Guru Maharaj, he started his trip to USA. So this is our hope. We may not be completely pure devotees. We may have still material desires in our heart. But if we manage to completely surrender our life for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, for the pleasure of our spiritual masters, then our life will be really successful. Then satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master will be the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Hare Krishna. So any questions or thoughts?
Yes. When we met Krishna in 1988, that's a long time ago.
Long time ago. I was
yeah.
7 years old.
Yeah, okay. I think part of the difficulty of not, part of the difficulty of not being a pure devotee of Krishna, the way you've described it, is because of the interference of the affairs of men. So again, going back to what I was saying, when we met Krishna in 1988, we had so much on our plate. We were being pursued by enemies. That were trying to kill us, specifically a native doctor, you know, who thinks that he has all the powers. And so we were running to Krishna for help. So it is difficult to be a pure devotee when you have the baggage of the world after you. This enemy was so vicious that, we came to this country in 1979. That's a long time ago. And that's almost 40 something years, right? That we've been in this country. So, and that enemy of ours was like our own Hiranyakashipu. Yeah. Even when Krishna was in this world, he also had his enemies. All right.
Yes.
And
Many.
who the enemies are. I think one of them what's his name again?
Kamsa.
Yeah, Kamsa. Trying to kill Krishna and all of that. So, in such a situation, you cannot completely ignore the affairs of the world. You're trying to survive, so you come to Krishna to protect you. That's your primary. Your primary reason is to come to Krishna for protection. So to have a pure devotee in such a situation is going to be difficult because you're trying to survive. Even when Kamsa and the rest of them were trying to kill Krishna, or in the case of Jesus Christ, this thing was Herod, remember? Because the life of Krishna is pretty much like Jesus, that some people are saying that, and I'll get to that in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
These are distractions that take away the absolute pure devotion that one would have developed, because there are distractions in the world.
Well, I think that's why it's very important.
Yeah.
Like especially this story about Ambarisha Maharaj that we are discussing.
Yeah.
Pandava Prabhu mentioned that Ambarisha Maharaj, he was emperor of the whole world.
Yeah.
So he was not some ordinary person. he could do many things. He was very powerful person, very influential person. He could do many things.
Yeah.
And still, in this very, very complicated situation, he preferred not to act, but rather to depend on the mercy of Krishna. And this is not easy. Like our human instinct is telling us that if we are in a difficult situation, I have to fight, I have to defend, I have to do something. I have to take care for the situation. And yeah, Ambarish Maharaj, he was very powerful personality. He could do many things to defend himself. Like he was spiritually very powerful. He was physically very powerful. He was very resourceful personality. He had a huge army. He could do something to defend. But still he said, yes, maybe I can do something to defend my body. But wait a minute, I'm not my body. I'm the soul. He cannot harm my soul. So rather let me just depend on the mercy of Krishna. And if Krishna wants to protect me materially, means to protect my situation and my body, let it be so. And if Krishna doesn't want to protect my body, and I have to change my body and I have to go into different situation, let it be so. So he was actually completely, totally surrendered on the desire of Krishna, how Krishna wants his life to continue. That's the amazing thing of this story.
Yeah.
One conclusion we can get.
Yeah, it's really his story is really extraordinary because and I think the world has become worse than when he was in this world. I mean, this world we are living in is more dangerous and more criminal and sinful than when Maharaj, lived. I mean, we are told that this is Kali Yuga. I mean, in the past there were people who are saints, who were saints, and so on. But in today's world, there is this violence in the world of terrorism, in the world of ethnic cleansing, and all of that. My point is this: there's nothing wrong with pure devotion, but these are distractions. These are distractions to that pure devotion. I mean,
I agree.
If you're born and there's no sin in the world, there's no demonic this and well, it would be great to just devote yourself to the Lord and so on. But when you're born and you have all these offenses and all these demonic attacks and all of that, it's kind of difficult, if not impossible, to devote, yourself purely.
Well, it is not impossible,
Yeah.
but it is very difficult. And I agree that situation nowadays is more difficult than before, in a sense that world around us is more impious, more unfavorable for practicing as a generally spirituality, devotion, and what to speak of pure devotion. I do agree with this. Still, very important point from our philosophy is that pure devotion does not depend on any material situation. One can be in any material situation and still be a pure devotee, because being a pure devotee does not depend on the external situation, it depends on our consciousness. That's why actually we say that we are a movement of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Krishna conscious society. Why? Because the real difference we have to make is not external, but rather how we perceive the situation in our mind, in our consciousness. So from this perspective, even in the most difficult situation, we can be a pure devotee. And we saw this in the example of Prahlad Maharaj, the first story that we were talking about. He was a small child, 5-6 years old, and he was basically completely helpless. And he was in such a difficult situation. His enemy was the greatest demon in the whole universe.
Yeah.
And he wanted to kill him. I mean, it cannot be worse than this. Like, someone wants to kill you, and this is the most powerful person in the universe, and you are just a small kid. It cannot be worse than this. And still, we see that Prahlad Maharaj did not say, well, this is such a difficult situation that I cannot be a pure devotee. Rather, he showed, no, in any situation, you can be a pure devotee, meaning in any situation, you can depend on the Lord.
Yeah.
Actually, Queen Kunti is telling us that when the situation is more difficult for us who are not pure devotees, it's easy to pray to God. Because when everything is okay materially, then we may not necessarily remember Krishna all the time. But when it becomes difficult, when we feel the heat, then we start praying, Krishna, please help me. Situation is difficult. Situation is serious. Please. So anyway, I just wanted to make this point.
Okay.
Actually, pure devotion does not depend on any material situation. It depends only on the internal desire to surrender completely to the will of the Lord, to desire of the Lord, and to do something with love and devotion.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So it's 8 o'clock. This is the end of our session today. I just want to make a little bit intro to the next time to know what is expecting us. The next time is our last time of this seminar. So we are going to look few more amazing examples of pure devotees. And specifically, we are going to discuss two very special and important qualities of Krishna. And these are that he melts with prema. That means he's completely immersed with prema towards his devotees, and he is controlled by his devotees' love. And we are going to discuss how these two qualities, Krishna, he will always manifest these two qualities in the relationships with his devotees. And even sometimes he will break his other normal norms of behavior in order to keep these two. In other words, the God, who is the greatest personality, who is the purest, the most truthful, sometimes he will even break these qualities of his conduct, which, like, in our mind, generally, these are the qualities of God. He's always clean, he's pure, he's truthful. Krishna sometimes breaks even those qualities, but he would never break the quality to exchange love with his devotees and to be controlled, to move according to the desire of his devotee. We will discuss few very, very interesting stories in this regard. So
Okay.
stay with us.
Yeah.
And
Just one moment.
yes.
We have a temple in Nigeria.
Okay.
Where there are so many temples. Krishna has gone around the world. That's what I was telling an Indian. I said to an Indian, Krishna is not the God of India. Krishna is supreme God.
Yes.
Is the creator God. Okay.
Right.
So Indians don't own Krishna alone. All right. And in Nigeria, there's so many temples. All right.
I
So
have
there's
friends.
a temple.
I have friends from
There's a temple in my part of Nigeria, even though I've lived most of that life in America, but I still go back. I still visit Nigeria.
Nice.
And there's a temple, and there's a problem that has arisen And I'm just trying to get devotees like you to intercede on my behalf to beg Krishna to if you want to call it material well, we're in this world. You cannot ignore material needs. We're in this world, all right? And there's a court case that's engulfed the land where the temple is embroiled in a court case.
Okay.
And then we've been asked to pay up to 5 to 6 million naira, which is not much compared to American dollar, because one American dollar is equals to 740 Nigerian naira, and yet it has stopped the operation of the temple. So I've helped. I've promised to help if Krishna will bless me with a little job here so that I can help in defraying the cost, because the judge has ruled that unless that money is paid, the temple will remain grounded. So if you go to the temple now, even though the temple has been renovated, but it doesn't operate fully. They only perform pujas, but you can't engage in full operation until the money is paid. So I just want you and others to I believe that you guys are greater devotees of, than me. All right, to intercede on my behalf